The Ukrainian army said it had pushed Russian troops back 3 to 8 kilometers from the banks of the Dnipro River, which if confirmed would be the first meaningful advance by Ukrainian forces after months of disappointing counteroffensive. Ukrainian and Russian troops have been entrenched on opposite sides of the vast waterway in the southern region of Kherson for more than a year, after Russia withdrew its forces from the West Bank last November. Like Bakhmut and many other Ukrainian towns before it, the Russians had also destroyed Avdiivka in their futile capture attempt, after more than a month of heavy fighting. Ukraine is anticipating a new mechanized attack on Avdiivka by Russia, analysts at the US-based Institute of War Studies think tank said. The Russians plan to encircle Avdiivka while avoiding entering the city, with the aim of carrying out a siege strategy. Russian forces intensified their offensive against Avdiivka on October 10, launching a major assault on the Donbass city. Soldiers of the Achilles Company of the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed 2 self-propelled artillery installations of the Russian invaders with FPV kamikaze drones in the Bakhmut direction. The 152mm self-propelled artillery 2C-19 Msta-S and the 120mm self-propelled artillery and mortar installation 2C-9 Nona-S were destroyed. Achilles commander Yuri Fedorenko told about this on his Telegram channel, publishing a related video edited from footage taken of the ammunition barrage itself. Another video also shows air scouts of the 227th Battalion of the separate Kharkiv Brigade of the Territorial Defense Forces of the Ukrainian Armed Forces repulsed the attack of an invading armored column of Russian invaders against our positions somewhere in the southern direction. At the same time, at least 2 light armored multi-purpose tractors, on which the enemy troops were moving, were destroyed. First, they were hit by our artillery, and then they were finished off with accurate grenades dropped from drones. Since the war began, Moscow has continued to launch missile, drone and artillery attacks on the country, but is expected to launch new missile strikes against Ukrainian targets, including its energy infrastructure, as more severe winter conditions affect combat tactics. Ukraine said today that more than 150 of its settlements in the north, east, and south of the country have been hit by artillery fire over the past few days, and fighting continues around the town of Avdiivka in Donetsk, which has spent months on the front lines. Russia did not mention the town in its update, but said its southern group of troops had stopped 6 Ukrainian attacks around the town of Marinka in Donetsk and the villages of Klishchiivka and Shumy. In the Kherson direction on the last day, fighters of the Ukrainian Armed Forces eliminated 14 Russian invaders. In addition, our defenders destroyed 5 tanks, a self-propelled artillery installation Msta-S, 3 cannons, a video surveillance complex, Murom-M, a warehouse of fuel and lubricants. This was reported by the press service of the South Ukrainian Defense Forces Command on its Telegram channel. In addition, he showed a video taken by an unmanned aerial vehicle of the destruction of the enemy's complex of anti-aircraft missiles and weapons, Panzer S-1. The bloggers discovered that this happened on November 17 near the occupied Chaplinka in the Kherson region, half 100 kilometers from the nearest free territory. Direct hit from a high-precision weapon, possibly a HIMARS-type rocket launcher. Ukrainian military spokeswoman Natalia Humeniuk told Ukrainian television, according to several local media reports, that troops on the Russian-held bank of the Dnieper River in the southern region of Kherson had been pushed back between 3 kilometers and 8 kilometers. Fierce fighting has erupted over the past week after Ukrainian troops crossed the major river into the Russian-occupied eastern bank. Ukrainian forces on Friday claimed to have secured several bridges on the eastern side of the river, which divides the partially occupied territory. Launched in June, the long-awaited counteroffensive by Kyiv and its Western allies failed, leaving the Ukrainian army able to retake only a few villages in the south and east. But on Friday, Kyiv said it had taken up positions on the left bank of the Dnieper, reporting fierce fighting and strong resistance from Russia. Previously, Ukraine's last major success in its counteroffensive was the recapture of the village of Robotine in August, in the southern region of Zaporizhia. Taking a position further on the left bank of the Dnieper allowed Kyiv to mount a larger offensive in the south. But to achieve this, Ukraine must successfully deploy its troops in difficult-to-access, sandy and swampy areas and face tough Russian defenses. Ukraine also destroyed or damaged 3 tanks, tank platoons, 2 trucks and 1 target, most likely some kind of armored fighting vehicle, belonging to Russian invaders that we did not specify. This was reported by the Telegram channel Bor 110 OMBUR, which published a related video edited from footage taken mainly by the kamikaze drone itself, as well as controlled unmanned aerial vehicles. It is known from previous news that the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, named after Colonel General Mark Bezrutka, is fighting in the front area north of Avdiivka. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced on Sunday that he had replaced the commander of the military medical force and called for operational changes. In an evening video address and accompanying post on Telegram, Zelensky said he had replaced Major General Tetiana Ostashenko with Major General Anatoly Kazmirchuk on the recommendation of Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Serhiy Popko, head of Kyiv's military administration, said via Telegram that a barrage of ammunition was fired by a shade drone in the capital overnight. Enemy UAVs were launched by multiple groups and came attacking Kyiv in waves from various directions, while constantly changing the vector of movement along the route, Popko said. Air raid sirens sounded several times in Kyiv, and no casualties or critical damage were recorded in the city according to currently available information, he added.